Welcome back once again to the Ireland Esports Collegiate Series. We have here the TFT competition for the winter season, and we are in week 2. Now we have our second game of the evening, and I'm Invective, I'm with Deadly Ghost here, and we're really excited to bring you some more TFT action.
Hello everyone. If you're just joining us, we're going to be going into game 2 of today's broadcast. Game 1 was a massive victory for Christopher, who managed to get that very interesting shapeshifter dragon board. Got to level 9 really early and managed to get that win. So congratulations to Christopher. And for game 2, we are going to be seeing some new faces as we're loading into the game. Maybe someone who we have not yet gotten the opportunity to get to know. So I'm very happy and very interested to see some of the other players in this tournament, Invective.
Yeah, for sure. I think I recognize some of these names from our previous week of competition. I think that there are some real competitors here, and most of them seem to be standing on the gold subscription. But sometimes the minority wins in TFT, and we are going to be going with overachievers. So I believe this means we are going to be getting more powerful charms earlier on into the game.
Yeah, so powerful charms are appearing earlier on. They are not 50% off, which is the other portal you can get connected to charms. So this is you're still going to be required to spend some of that gold for those late game charms, like the random emblems, like the stuns and the wounds and the burns. So it's going to be interesting to see what our players are going to cook up in this game too. And I mean, I think it was last game that Wiglor had the blasters. Everyone can cook, but not everything is always edible.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. It can be very difficult to play a line that is a little less powerful than the top tier in TFT, especially when you are a little bit lower on HP than everyone else. I think that Wiglor really had a strong game plan in the last game, but they might not have had all the HP they needed to execute on that game plan. And that is one of the challenges of TFT because you have a few resources you need to manage in order to make sure you can actually get to the point you want to go. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up about our last game is that there were a lot of players who were really contesting each other's units. And I would love to see our players scout a little bit more diligently as we get a prismatic augment for our first choice here.
And it is going to be I am the carry now for coming in. Wandering Trainer with a portal and a scholar. I really wonder what that person is going to be going as we see the hedge fund coming in. Another hedge fund and Spoils of War, and Spoils of War is probably one of my favorite augments to have. We see a flexible and going long. So going long is something that I haven't taken it. I haven't played a lot with it, but I know in the right circumstances it can be a very strong augment. And Tel Kusavai, I think we have had him in one of our games last week, so it's going to be interesting how he's going to pilot going long in this game.
Yeah, I think going long can be challenging to play around because you are able to access higher levels earlier on into the game. You can really build a win streak if you find a powerful board to field for stage 2. At the same time, though, things can get really difficult if you are on a mixed win streak because then you really don't have any economic advantage in the long term over some of your competitors who really get to build up their interest and get econ in that way. And like we said, there are, I think, 2 players in this lobby who have hedge fund. So there is a lot of greed going on, and there is going to be a really powerful late game if those players get to access high level units or, really roll down very hard in stage 3. Now, over on the other side, we see Pupango already with a Hecarim 2 upgraded, and that could be a big deal for this round because at this stage of the game, that is a way more powerful unit than anything Thelkusify has to bring to bear.
I mean, Telkusavai is definitely bringing the power with the Hecarim. However, I believe. Sorry, Pupango is bringing the power of the Hecarim. However, Telkusavai has the power of friendship and the power of level 5 because that Zoe and Ari managed to make short work out of that very scary horse.
Yeah, that was
But
a very close fight. Now,
yeah,
over here with Sprumble, this is going to be a interesting fight. We saw them take I'm the carry now, and they've gotten off to a hot start with 2 rounds won. And now they have access to what I think is one of the most powerful augments in the game at the moment, or powerful charms in the game at the moment. When you have an early game like this one, when you don't have any items slammed, you have the ability to turn all 3 of your components into static shiv, and this really does make a difference because that's a lot of direct damage going into the enemy board. But we are going to see the Hecarim again on the other side, but it falls almost immediately, and Pupango seems to be on a bit of a loss streak despite having a very powerful upgrade this early into the game. And here with Mitra, we have another what looks to be a mage board here early on in the game, and I think that alongside this hedge fund, we are really going to get to see a powerful board come together in the mid game, whether they are playing around Vigar, whether they are playing around these 1 costs. They can really make something happen with all the gold that they've gotten from their augment, because it kind of looks like they're already really strong.
yeah. Sorry about that. I got decommissioned a little bit. Uh, yeah, but looking, I just came back towards the end of that round. That's a mage board with hedge fund, and like you said, this board is already looking extremely strong, and having the mages this early on, and with the hedge fund, which is just going to increase your economy by such a huge amount. You know, I it's interesting to me because we could see the roll down happening, or we could see just the mages being brought in for the early game and then just level up once you hit that 100 gold.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this early game is extremely flexible now that you have this powerful front line with the Galio 2. And you can see that Mitra is not even concerned about getting to level 5. They know that they can't hard contest a win streak with players like Thel Kusabai in the lobby, but they are content to make these econ intervals every round and accelerate the game in that way.
I mean, yeah, looking at it, the the charm that they have only works in adjacent tiles, and the Blitzcrank just got killed, so that Galdio explosion dealt virtually zero damage. But still, Micha is holding on very nicely. Only having lost 2 rounds, and it hasn't been that much damage to that board. So with economic augments, you're definitely looking towards losing as little HP as possible in the early stages, just so you can get that economy build up, especially when you have something like the hedge fund. Uh, but now we're looking over at Steady Mind, who has birthday present, and I mean we mentioned Pupango having Spoils of War. We have birthday present, and technically the two of them could also be classified as economy augments.
Yeah, a lot of players are going for those econ augments in this game. And I think Steady Mind, this is a risky move to do with Birthday Present. You don't have any source of econ in between the times that you level up, but this was a really fortunate level up because this Galio fits nicely on this board. It gives them a frontline synergy and allows them to have a 4 streak going into neutrals here. We saw Thelkusavai, their win streak fell off, and I assume that was because Sprumble was able to take the victory there as they continued their win streak.
Yeah, so it definitely was a loss against Rumble, But Telkusavai has now managed to grab a Fiora, which is something that is going to be very scary to go up against in stage 3, especially if we're going to get a little bit more lucky with the items, or we could just see a complete pivot into Rise because at Raptors you have a Fiora and the Rise, and Telkusavai definitely has some options open to him, and we're going to see both 4 Witchcraft and 3 Portal getting fielded in. So I think we found the board that is going to maybe not dominate, but definitely do extremely well during stage 3.
I would tend to agree with you there, Deadly Ghost, because having these two forecasts this early on into the game is a huge boon to any player. And we can see that despite the emblems on the opposing board, I really don't think that we're gonna have any difficulty dealing with those. And we know that Rise and Fiora are some of the more powerful forecasts in this meta, as both of them have the ability to get past some of the powerful front lines that the reroll boards can field. If you have a Wukong, if you have a Vex, these units can go around them, and that is part of what makes this board powerful. Hold the Recon Bomb.
Oh, oh, we're going to be re-rolling the Recombobulator.
I'll say
Now
it. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. That could be a smolder and a briar.
that could be a Smolder and a Briar, but you know what else it could also be? A Milio and the Morgana.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. Both of the units give gold, so I don't think there's any legendary that
Yeah,
you would really be super
yeah,
disappointed with.
2 and 2.5. Yeah.
But like at the same time, I can understand why you wouldn't want to give up a good thing that you have going, right? And there aren't that many other reasons to take Recon Bob in that situation. I just wanted to see it because I have no personal stake in the outcome of the game for Thelkusify.
I mean, still, getting getting a 2-5 cost at stage 3-2 would definitely have been very interesting. But now we're going to be taking a look at Yushinomi, who is the other person who has the hedge fund and also grabbed the Pandoras. So this is another flexible board, which we still don't know where it's going right now, but I think I have a general feeling for where this is going to be. This is headed because I see 2 rods and I don't see tears or gauntlets being picked up. So maybe these are going to be rage plates, and we're looking for a level 8 Callista board with some of those fairies to field out.
Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the options on board here. The Warmogs is also a great item for Rakan, but this is a tough loss streak to be managing for you, Shinomi. And, I would really be cautious because they are going to have to make some decisive moves here at the end of stage 3 and at the beginning of stage 4 in order to stabilize their game. It's a bold strategy to loss streak this hard. And I think that if you are taking the Pandora's items, if you want to play for the most powerful line in the game, and if you think that that is Callista, then more power to you. But this is a prismatic lobby, and there are some players who could get very, very strong.
I mean, you already saw Pupenga with the Spoils of War making so much money. Yushinomi is going to be taking that Nami, so maybe semblance of a mage board, maybe or maybe just take the Nami for the CCN to just give you that little bit of extra combat power that will allow you to not get a lot of damage dealt to you. Because if we're looking at it, Yushinomi could arrive at 4-2 with one maximum of 2 lives left, so it's going to be very scary. And Sprumble is going to roll past the random emblem, and is just playing this Dragon Shapeshifter board, which we already saw is extremely powerful. Has the featherweights for that Namzi and for that Shyvana, and your one cost, your two costs are going to be extremely more powerful. Uh, no, I wouldn't say extremely, but definitely have that little bit of an extra oomph that you would need to take out the enemy board.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think featherweights is definitely one of the ways you can make this reroll composition work, but I don't know if we have enough Nomsies to guarantee that we'll have Nomsy 3 at any point in this game, and that means I'm not sure if this game plan is going to be viable long term. That being said, Sprumble is certainly off to a healthy start to the game. With 92 HP, I think that's more than you could ask for if you are rerolling. So in that lens, like there is some validity for this game plan.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're looking at it, it's the lucky find of an Nasus, and you also have the Bard being. I'm guessing, I'm guessing Bard is there for the damage debuff that you would get on other units, because taking 10% extra damage across the entire board, especially when you have someone like Shyvana who can go even in the backline and utilize it really well, is going to be very nice. But we're jumping over to Telkusavai, and I mean, Invective. I think this is going to be an Arcana board.
Yeah, I mean, there's also this like Rise Fear Witchcraft board that I think is doing really well here. I mean, Crucify really found everything that they needed, and they're making a mess of the rest of the lobby because Lunch Money is offering them extra gold every turn. They have been able to dominate economically so far in this game, and I'm curious to see how far they can take it. Because one thing that we've seen in the last few games that we've been able to spectate Deadly Ghosts is that the player who is win streaking doesn't always have an easy time pivoting their board into one that is really powerful late game. We've seen win streakers tend to go like 4th place, and I want to see Thelkusify do a little bit better than that here.
Yeah, I definitely want to see Telkusavai go towards the end. Pardon the pun, but go long into this game, and manage to get some very some very good results for himself. And I mean, you have a second rise, you have enhance, maybe you and that could also be a shift coming in for the rise, or maybe you're waiting for that rage blade coming onto him. And Del Kusavai is definitely on his way to make a very very strong late game board. Doesn't have too much money for it, but is going to find the Briar. Does have a Nora in the shop, so can even opt for those portal units. But no, he's just going to get a Karma. He's just going to get a Briar. Telkusavai definitely has a very interesting game plan here, and something that you said is destroying people economically, and he has a strong economy in every way but the conventional way, because he doesn't get interest.
Yeah, that's for sure. I would love to see them pick up that Nora. I think that that board really does get strong if you are able to put the 5 cost that goes with the traits on it. I think that's pretty good in general, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Here we have our third augment though, and combat bandages is going to be the pick of the litter, so to speak, in this situation.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe if we aren't playing towards Rise and Fiora, we are going to be using the Briar more so. And I think that's also a very reasonable decision here, because we've seen how powerful Briar can be when you feed her earlier on into the game, and Thelkusavai has plenty of HP to go around, and they can find their way to level 9 by going long.
Yeah, we're already seeing some of these late game items coming in for a lot of some of the other people. Sprumble already had a support item and he got another one. Practice partners is just very strong for this mage board, especially when you have the 3-star Soraka, the 3-star Seraphine. You have 50 gold for Micha, so I guess Micha went towards the reroll portion of the hedge fund. And I mean, good on him. He found a lot of upgrades, a lot of carries, but it does seem like he's going to be slowly getting withered down by this Nasus, who is going to just tank up all of the damage from that Seraphine. And Micha, I think, will need to do a lot. And sadly, you should know me, faces up against the Real Control and is going to get eliminated right after 4-2. And I mean, he went up against the Real Control, who managed to get that Portal Emblem and has the Wandering Trainer Portal Emblem, so 8 Portal was hit very early on.
Yeah, that's weird. I think that they might be able to play 10 Portal at level 9. Uh, that's concerning for the rest of the lobby, because if the Real Control doesn't lose many fights, then they are certainly going to be able to get to that point.
Sadly, it is a 3. It is, the Real Control just hit level 8, has 3 gold, 2 XP, so he's going to need to build up a lot of economy from the stage 4 and have that rise be the main carry. And it is a rise 1, we don't even see a pair of rises to help out. And the rise is already struggling with against this Briar from Tel Kusavai, but it is going to be enough in the end. But Tel Kusavai has that second rise, has some of those upgrades waiting to happen. So this is going to be a very, very interesting stage 5. Stage 5, I think, because I think they're both going to survive stage 4, but they seem to be both contesting each other on some of these units.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the game plan is for Thelkusify at this point, because it does look like they pivoted away from Rise and over onto Karma. I think that's totally valid if they want to get to level 9 and play around some different units. Karma might be stronger at 1 star. But now we have the Nami upgraded, and this is really starting to look good. I'm not sure what we took the glove for, but hey, it could be whatever you want it to be.
I think it's going to be another Rise item, maybe the Jewel Gauntlet, because it's not a bad item for Rise. We see already the Shojin and the Archangel, so unless it's unless you want to get the static shift, it's definitely looking like it's going to be JG, and I'm not opposed to it. It's a really good item on Rise, but I think you do need that Rise too to help you out with that little bit of extra oomph.
Yeah, I would agree that you do want to get some of these upgrades going, but I do think the Real Control has the ability to greed in this situation. You can see that they're doing reasonably well in the fight up against Sprumble, who has been win streaking up until this point, because this front line just lasts for so long with the extra shields, with the stuff that comes out of the portal. You can see that the Krug just does a ton of tanking for them, and Sprumble is going to have their win streak ended by this 8 portal board here at 4-5.
I mean, this is so strong right now for the Real Control, but sadly we have some other people going down towards the low ends, of the health board, and one of those people is Pupengo, who has hit a 5 warrior board, which I think that should be 4 warriors, right? I think the Neela might just be, the extra here that is not really needed, but still, we do have the Fiora, we have the Akali too, and Pupengo does have some strength to his board, especially when the Akali and the Fiora can go onto the backline like this really easily against the board that the Real Control has.
Yeah, this is difficult, right? Because Pupengo is quite low, but you can see that they're sort of riding the edge of that loss streak. They were losing throughout a large part of this stage, but by finding the upgrade to the Fiora 2, they might have stabilized themselves enough to get to level 9, if that's where they want to go. But like you said, right, there are ways that we can optimize this board more for level 8 by maybe adding some preservers, by removing this Neela, and by finding the upgrade to the Gwen. And I am concerned because there are a lot of powerful players in this lobby.
It is going to be so difficult for Pupengo to just find what he needs, and maybe I think Pupengo might just want to wait a little bit to level up, but oh no, never mind. It just he was just reforging some items onto that Fiora. Ooh, we see a Briar. We see a Rakan coming in. The Briar is going to get skipped and not bought, which I think is definitely a mistake. Yeah, would have had a Briar too, and we also see the Gwen here. So I think maybe Pengo is getting just that little bit dizzy into trying to find a decent stage 5 board.
Yeah, I mean, this Fiora is still very strong, but I think that it can also be difficult, right? At this point, I can understand not really wanting to play around the Briar because so much of your board is built around the power of these warriors, and Fiora's items would be the ones going onto Briar. You also don't have a lot of HP, and we have to unfortunately say goodbye at this point to Micha as well. We saw them re-rolling the mages, but I don't think they were able to scale quite as well as they wanted to. They maybe hit a little bit later than is optimal, and that can be very difficult, right? Because if you don't hit quickly enough with reroll, if you don't play the tempo of the rest of the game out correctly, you can fall behind. And in prismatic lobbies, that can be a particular challenge.
I mean, prismatic lobbies always have a very big difficulty to them because of how strong some of these players can get even early on, and how much of power their boards can have. And you have here Claro, who went with the branching out and has 5 Frost, 5 Mage, has also the Arcanas with him, and it's based on the emblems. It's a very unorthodox board, but the board that somehow makes sense once you take a closer look at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the boards that I've never seen before, but I think it, like you said, it does make sense. You're leaning into certain traits that are strong right now, like the mages, and, this Vigar does seem to be doing at least some work into, some of the players in this lobby, and we'll see if Claro is going to be able to hold on against other powerful players here. We have Steady Mind, who went to level 9 with a birthday present alongside this Jinx that they were able to find in the middle of stage 3, and even though they're not super optimized for level 9, they have a Nora 2 in the backline. She's pumping out damage on this big clump of units here in the front, and Jinx is scaling up with the Rage Blade, but it's not going to be enough because Claro has put together some real power here, and Steady Mind's going to be taking a bad loss.
Steady Mind is taking a bad loss. Pupengo is going to be eliminating the real control. The 8 portal board not holding out and losing out to this Spoils of War board. And I mean, Pupengo is threading the needle with the 1 HP, but it seems like he has somehow managed to stabilize, managed to get some of those wins in. I believe he lost HP by feeding a Briar, so it's still very good for him. He was dead last, and he was looking like he was on the verge of getting eliminated. So, and manages to hit the Gwen upgrade as well. So Pupengo is definitely looking strong. Someone who we haven't looked in a while is Sprumble with this Dragon Shapeshifter board, and I mean, you also have the Pyro emblem, which is something that is extremely strong on the Smolder. So I would have liked to see the smolder items get removed and maybe replace the Giant Slayer with the Pyro emblem, but it's still a strong board, a strong emblem, and I think Sprumble is just waiting to get one more shapeshifter to put in for that 6th shapeshifter.
Yeah, I think this is a case where your roll down can get a little bit confusing. You get to level 9, you have a bunch of options you could do to make your board stronger, but you're really laser focused on one or two options. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it didn't matter in this fight. Sprumble is still going to be winning this one, but there are a lot of optimizations that you could make, like you said. Putting Varus on the board is going to buff both Smolder and the Pyro trait, but at the same time, you can also really go for like even dropping Dragon, because if your main carry is Smolder, he doesn't benefit quite as much from that trait. You don't have to have a Nomsy on this board either.
No, you don't. And we have some good news, Invective. Like,
What is that good news?
your wish has been made into a reality because both Sprumble and Telkusovai were our win streakers early on in the game, and they have both made it towards that top 3. So we finally have a win streaking board from the early game, make it to a better place than a top 4.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad to see that as well. I think Telkusovai is really just playing quite standard at like a standard late game board, and we're gonna see a matchup between two relatively standard late game boards as both of these players are playing around the Smolder, are playing around the Briar. I think I would tend to favor Telkusovai's spot a little bit more, because I think that their augments are leaning well into the late game here, and their itemization seems to reflect maybe better overall choices. Having the Spite buffing both the Smolder and the Briar is also something you can do in this situation, and in what is more or less a mirror matchup, I think that these choices are going to edge Telkusovai up over Sprumble here at the end of the game.
See, for me, it is going to be who is going to hit those upgrades first, because both of them, like you said, are looking towards those are looking towards the Smolder and the Briar, but Smolder 2 is going to get picked up for the side of Telkusovai, and in response, Sprumble is going to hit the 2-star Briar. So, I mean, neither player is giving up on their boards, and they're basically telling each other, yo, you're going to hit that, I'm going to hit this, and we're still going to be equally matched.
Yeah, look at the way this fight is going, though. Sprumble's Smolder was able to find a lot of damage onto the Smolder of Telkusovai early on this fight, but Telkusovai's Smolder is still standing up for itself and takes the victory somehow. Casting this is so strange because I don't know if the Smolder AI is doing what it's supposed to be doing, but Telkusovai takes Sprumble's lunch money, and this fight is gonna be a duel for the ages.
I mean, Telkusovai Smolder may as well be Elton John because he's still standing at the end of that fight, and I mean, you saw it. The Smolder survived up until the very end. You had a lot of damage coming in from the Smolder, just deleting most of that backline, and this is going to be a very fun lobby to cast, especially because these final two boards are so similar to each other.
Yeah, and the Pyro spat, by the way, for Sprumble has been moved on over to the Briar, and I think that could make a difference, as she is the main advantage that Sprumble has in this fight. You can see the difference that has made. The gem pops, and Sprumble takes a victory over Telkusovai. This is going to come down to the wire, and Telkusovai now, I think, has to find an upgrade or a charm that is going to give them an advantage again.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely won that Briar too. You definitely won that Nasus too, because Sprumble has the extra help from that defensive item golem. So effectively you're fighting with one extra unit as Sprumble, and if you already have these these upgrades hit on some of these same units, you're definitely not going to be worrying yourself about who is doing what. And like, look at that. Telkusovai's Smolder gets focused by the Briar. It is going to kill the Briar, but however, it's going to be killed in the process. And Sprumble is going to be taking the W in game 2, but I mean, Telkusavai put up a very good fight.
Yeah, for sure. In the era of dragons, it seems like we are having a hell of a late game between Smolder and Smolder, between Namzi and Namzi, Shyvana, Briar and Briar. I think that, it can be a little bit funny if that's the way that the late game really does play out. But I think both Sprumble and Thelkusabai were able to do a lot of work to extend their economic advantage over the rest of the lobby and find their way to that late game, that it seems like all of our players have an idea in mind that, that's a powerful way that I can play the late game, but only some of them were able to get there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw two boards towards the end that were basically contesting each other, like you said, but the thing is, you also had a lot of economic augments coming in, and I think Telkusavai and Sprumble used that to their advantage to just get these early game win streaks. And we said before, it's a prismatic lobby, so it is going to be extremely volatile. Even with just one prismatic augment, you can get a lot of changes coming into the game, and we saw there some people not utilizing those economy augments in the best way possible, and definitely suffered for it. Which, I mean, kudos to Telkusva and Sprumble for realizing that they have the advantage and just pushing their advantage up to the max.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for tuning in to week 2 of the Ireland Esports Collegiate Series, the TFT winter season. And before we go, I'd like to give another shout out to our sponsors, Dogpatch Labs, GG Machines, PlayAid, Natives, upon whose stream we are streaming, and Stack.